Hello, everyone. So, there, if you haven't followed the sort of add-on drama that's gone on, I envy you. I wouldn't follow it really if I were you. Um, but this is just an update video to go over my UI again, especially now that Prepatch is out as well. I basically had to build it from the ground up again, which honestly didn't take me all that long back from when I had it with NephUI. It just required more add-ons and I'm really happy with how it turned out still. I've still got the same layout I had before with action bars and things. I've got my cooldown manager and all that fun stuff. Um, but let's just go. I want to kind of go through my add-ons really quick to kind of describe what they are, what the goal is for them, I suppose. All of my import codes are actually going to be linked in the community Discord that I just started. That will be linked in the description, and then you'll be able to see all of my UI imports there, as well as, when I upload videos or talking about Devour, whatever you want to do there. Dominoes is pretty straightforward. It's just an action bar add-on. It's pretty. The issue I was having was that with my when action bars were just being handled by the Blizzard UI, every time I would log in, they would reset themselves, and it was so annoying. But Domino's does their own action bars. Like, if I go into edit mode, I can't edit them with edit mode. I have to use the Domino's config, which, while that can kind of be annoying on paper, to be perfectly honest, I much prefer it because it makes sure it makes sure your action bars are isolated, and also it's not subject to the bugs that the edit mode has. I've disabled the cast bar because another add-on does it that I'll go into later, and then the roll window I don't need. Um, Auctionator, that's just an auction house add-on. Pratt, it's just some chat improvements like chat logs and things like that. Um, Targeted spells. So targeted spells was a weak aura that obviously doesn't exist anymore because weak auras don't exist anymore. But basically, what this add-on's doing is when I personally am targeted with a spell, its timer will appear up here and just tell me how long it will be before I'm hit with that spell. It's pretty straightforward, but it's really helpful for interrupts or knowing when to press a defensive or something like that, especially in hierarchies. Bug grabber and bug sack, these are literally just so the numerous Lua errors that happen just don't pop up in the middle of my screen. Um, Even if you don't use any add-ons, you're gonna get a ton of Lua errors because it's just super buggy right now. Um, so these two add-ons are really nice to have because it kind of just pushes them out of the way and doesn't impede your experience. Baginator and Syndicator. Syndicator is just a requirement for Baginator. That's just the thing that's making my bags one big bag like this. Mask. What I have Mask installed for is for the Domino's action bars to. So the issue, I'm not a big fan of the like default border that the Blizzard UI puts on stuff on certain action bars. So what I preferred is this kind of like there's a tiny, barely noticeable border on the one I have currently. But Mask in general will it's able to reskin certain add-ons. That's basically the gist of it. Enhanced QOL. What Enhanced QOL is doing is there. I mean, it does a ton of different things. Um, that are just things that would probably be weak auras before. What I'm mainly using it for is to just like automatically put my key in at the start of a dungeon. But also, I mean, it has a ton of different things it does. It does a ton of stuff. This is honestly an add-on I think just people should just have to to just it's quality of life. It's just stuff that you might want at some point. You can enable, disable at will, and then that's all you really need it to do. Minimap Redux. This is just some better looking minimap for me. It also has a organized section for my add-on buttons up here. Better cooldown manager and unhalted unit frames. So obviously you can see unhalted unit frames right now. Those are just kind of doing their own thing. Better cooldown manager, obviously in the middle here. I like better cooldown manager because it's basically what I had before. And it also, I'm not personally using it right now, but you are able to have your trinkets be on your cooldown manager if you really want to. I'm not really, especially with Devour and us just macroing our on use to meta. Like it's not something I'm like super concerned about most of the time. Scorpio, that's just a requirement for an add-on that will come later. Bigwigs, everyone knows Bigwigs. It's just boss mod add-on. It puts timer bars up that look nicer than the default one. Castbar config. So Castbar config I have only because I am using it to basically disable the Blizzard default Castbar because Better Cooldown Manager has its own that I'm using down there. So I don't want the default one on my screen. Um so that's just the only reason I have it. I enjoy it because it got rid of it basically instantly and I didn't have to mess with it. Dander's frames. Dander's frames is just party and raid frames. I've got my party frames down there. Raid frames over there. Looking real nice. So on and so forth. Deja character stats, that is just the character panel that just makes information a little easier to see and without having to look into stuff that much. Details. We all know details, just damage meter, better than the Blizzard one in my opinion. Um Ignore these. I deleted these. These I'm not using anymore. Little wigs, big wigs, but for dungeons, obviously. Method raid tools, and I would say method raid tools and mythic dungeon tools are basically just add-ons I have because I need them for certain things. Like method raid tools is just what most people use for like notes in mythic raid and things like that. Otherwise, I'm not personally messing with these two add-ons much. Mythic dungeon tools allows you to do dungeon routes, so it allows me to see what route my tank wants to go down. M plus timer, this is just the add-on that was previously the weak aura that just popped up in your top right, and it's a better looking M plus timer. Narcissus, if you don't know what Narcissus is, it does a bunch of different things. What I mainly use Narcissus for is to actually make my thumbnails. So I'm able to, put Nintern here, who, by the way, if you faction change your character since the pre-patch, you can't transmog your character. So I look hideous, but that's okay. I can put myself in any particular pose that I want, and then I can pause it, pick the certain frame of the animation, and then I can take a picture. It puts it on a green screen, and I'm able to Photoshop it later. These are nameplates that aren't showing up. I have a pretty basic profile that, again, it'll be linked in my Discord. Um, obviously, everything's buggy right now, but I'm enjoying Plater more than Platinator personally. Plumber, this is another just quality of life add-on that just it does stuff that you won't even notice that it's like out of the base game. I'm just a plumber fan. I use it in retail. Radar.io, I don't have it enabled right now, but Radar.io, we all know Radar.io. Simulation craft, this is just the /simc that you need to sim your character. TomTom, that's just like the waypoints and coordinates add-on. It's especially nice to have since I'm working on Lore Master. Styling tracker. So this is one. Styling tracker is an add-on that I got because it was solely for the purpose that I wanted my objective tracker to look better. So if I just track Lore Master, let's say, it'll pop up over there. This is what my objective tracker looks like. I just wanted the more kind of like sleek black aesthetic without going to LVY. But it's more than just an objective tracker. It also has an item bar that for my quest items. but it can track a bunch of different things, and it's one of those add-ons where, like, you're either just installing it and not thinking about it, or you dive super in depth with it to track whatever you want. I haven't delved too deep into it, but I think there's a ton of different ways for it to do some cool stuff. So it's definitely an add-on that if that's something you're into, it's definitely something you can do. But those are my add-ons. I'm sure I'll add more over time, just if I see something that comes out at me. I'm waiting for Peggle to be uploaded or updated. Big Peggle guy. But otherwise, I once again, all of the import codes for my profiles will be in my Discord. Um, please feel free to share it with your friends as well. I'd love to start building some people in there and kind of have a place specifically for sort of devour discussion outside of like the Fellhammer and places like that. While those are really good resources, sometimes it can just be a little crowded. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day.